Thank you, Tim, and hello, everybody. Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to the Little Green Pharma ShareCafe webinar. Thank you for joining today. My name is Fleeta. I'm the Managing Director at LGP, and I'll go through this slide deck and at the end have some time for some Q&A. If you can see the room behind me or my background, this is one of our newly expanded growing rooms, which we've just been permitted to start growing in. So super exciting for the LGP team, as it's 10 times the size of what we were growing in. So we can't wait to see when in the next lot of amazing medicines come out of these rooms. So very exciting. Okay, so let's start. So on the corporate overview slide, what I'm wanting to highlight to you here is that Angus and I, both executive directors, own 19% of the company between us. And the reason I want to make you aware of this is that we think like shareholders. We are completely aligned with your interests, and we're so super motivated to make this company work and achieve what we said we were going to do. It's also important to note that the company has no debt. We have a net cash position, 4.3 million. The balance sheet is strong, and the market cap is approaching around the 50 million mark. And of course, we're growing. As some of you might be aware, we're a vertically integrated medicinal cannabis company. And this means we have our own cultivation and manufacturing facility. So we're focused on pharmaceutical grade cannabis only, and this is used for treating medical conditions. And it's really fundamental because we're all about transforming people's lives. If we go on to the next slide, this is our belief, it's our purpose, it's our strategy, it's who we are, and it's what we stand for. And it's important because we're delivering much needed medicines to patients across the globe right now, including those suffering from conditions such as pain, seizures, anxiety, and those undergoing cancer-related treatments. But we're also working behind the scenes on a unique drug delivery system, and this is to help solve real patient problems, and will also help LGP to be a differentiator in the industry. So we absolutely want to deliver a return for our investors, but we also really want to deliver actual patient outcomes. Cool, next slide. And this is how we're going to do it. We are vertically integrated, so this means we operate across the entire supply chain. So this is incredibly important as we can identify opportunities and create value within. So this is what I mean. We have an indoor cultivation and production facility. So we grow our own plants in the southwest region of Western Australia, and that can produce 110,000 bottles per annum. But we're not limited to this. We have established channels of third-party raw material to supplement volume. And we also have the ability to expand our cultivation footprint even further and actually double our production output if necessary. So this gives us, or gives the company options, and I think that's really important. But we're not just growers, we also manufacture as well. So we have an exclusive agreement with a TGA GMP manufacturer. Now this stands for Good Manufacturing Practice, and it's a certification obtained from the Australian Therapeutic Goods Administration. And it's really important as it's a prerequisite to sell into many countries such as Germany. However, we're also constructing our own manufacturing facility, which is nearing completion and already licensed by the Federal Office of Drug Control. And that will allow us to have additional control and drive margins further and dry flower in GMP conditions to enter the German market. So what lies ahead of the business, or what lies at our heart of the business, is product innovation and the R&D team who are tirelessly working on and developing drug delivery methods for our patients. So in particular, we've partnered with Curtin University to develop a medicinal cannabis formulation. And this is using a RISE technology, which in essence will aim to provide, it's a slow release mechanism to benefit certain patients. So for example, such as those suffering from chronic pain. We also have an education platform and engagement team, and they're responsible for educating and nurturing doctors and other stakeholders, as we recognise that this is still a nascent industry and education is absolutely paramount, not only just in Australia but overseas as well. Finally, on this slide, I can't stress enough how important distribution is, particularly in the international markets. Although we have domestic sales in Australia to help pay the bills, ultimately we want to sell volume export into international markets, and we're a long way ahead of the curve here. We've been through regulatory approvals, we have signed sales, distribution and also consignment agreements in multiple countries such as the UK, Germany, New Zealand, Canada. And in fact, distribution and sales overseas is so important to us that I'm currently living in Europe now. And this is to progress this. And as the Managing Director, that's where I'm focusing all my efforts on. So look out for announcements on how we're making solid progress on volume sales into Europe and other overseas markets, because this really is the prize here. Everything that we're doing in the 4 steps beforehand is to enable us to create value in this 5th step. So this is ultimately where the value lies, and everything mentioned previously is an enabler to allow us to get there. Next slide, please. So LGP continues to redefine the medicinal cannabis industry. We were the first company to produce locally grown medicines in Australia and then export them. We had almost 2 years of first mover advantage. So we've been generating revenue since August 2018 now. I do want to highlight on this slide the significance of having finished TGA GMP cannabis medicines. And remember, this is good manufacturing practice. And it's recognised by the European Union. This is fundamental for pharma grade quality and those companies aspiring to or wanting to deliver into other markets. Because not everyone can do this, and it's a prerequisite to sell into countries such as Germany. And in fact, there's actually only a handful of companies across the globe right now that has this capability to deliver into Germany. And little Green Pharma is one of them. So it puts us in a really excellent position as we enter new markets. We've always been proud of having a lean business model. We have fiscal discipline of not overcapitalising until the supply pathways have been not only developed, but actually proven. And that's an important part for us. So we have a good net cash position. We don't plan to keep coming back to the markets because we're operating well within our means. And that's thanks to the local domestic sales we have. Okay, next. So our way forward and the reasons why these are our focal strategy points, it's really clear. Firstly, the proven sales in Australia. So increasing sales domestically demonstrates market validity. As I've mentioned, it generates immediate cash flow and really underpins the development of international pathways, allowing us to pursue the bigger prize. And the bigger prize here, or our primary target, is the generation of commercial sales volumes into international markets. So this is where we aim to make profits, and hence why distribution partnerships and those strategic shipments are really important, as it's proving out those international pathways. As Tim mentioned, we've already shipped more than 1,000 bottles to Astral Health in the UK recently, and we're soon expecting to export more than 2,000 bottles to one of our German partners, CC Pharma, in Germany. And although these volumes themselves are not materially commercial, they're strategically very important. So this is what I want you to understand. It's the ultimate goal for LGP is the commercial sales volumes overseas. And I don't want to leave any ambiguity here as to what we're trying to achieve. So look out for these real value drivers. Number 3, our end game and our longer term play is product innovation and unique drug delivery. I've mentioned that our strategic decision is to focus on pharma grade medicines. And that's for real patients with real medical problems. So our innovation efforts, such as the Arise technology that we're working on, will allow LGP to have differentiation in the market, but also to have better products and solve real patient problems that really do exist today. Okay, next slide. I mentioned just previously that we've been selling into the Australian market, and I want to give you a sense of that on this slide because it's been growing rapidly. You can see our continued sales growth, which is consistently strong with a month-on-month increase. So we're really penetrating the market, demonstrating not only demand, but we're also cementing the role that medicinal cannabis has to play in the medical field. So we've sold now more than 16,500 bottles in Australia, and 6,000 of these were just in the last quarter gone. So this is a 50% increase on last quarter. Frankly, we're probably never going to make a massive fortune from Australian sales alone, but it does demonstrate market validity and shows real world adoption growing at an exponential rate. And this pattern is highly likely to occur in other parts of the world, and it's what we're starting to see. Saying that, we generated 875,000 in revenue this quarter, with the gross margin currently sitting around 54%. Which we're expecting to improve with our ongoing internal capabilities. Our patient numbers increased by 24% in the quarter. This is well above the 14% increase in Australian patient SASB approvals, so we're looking really good here. We've now got 4,500 patients, of which nearly 1,500 are new. So the next slide, we know now that we're selling into Europe and that the other markets are the primary target for LGP. So in our view, we need to have raw materials and manufacturing capability, which we now have in place. So with raw materials or cannabis biomass, we have our own cultivation facility. So has the production of up to 110,000 bottles. We have optional capacity to increase our cultivation footprint if necessary, so we can double that. And we've also have established those channels of third-party raw material to supplement volume. So we're not limited by that 110,000 bottle capacity. With our manufacturing capability, we have volume manufacturing with a third party who is a TGA GMP licensed. So we own the equipment there, we own the IP, and we actually have our own staff working from this facility. We have a fabulous relationship with our manufacturer who does the finished oils. But we also have the construction underway of our own facility, which is nearing completion and already licensed by the Office of Drug Control. So finally, what is going to drive value? So just moving on to the next slide. So what is going to drive value for the company and the sorts of things you need to look out for? Along the lines of delivering medicines into Germany and the UK and South America, progress on our manufacturing facility and the construction, and also studies and education that promote awareness to doctors and stakeholders. So it's these types of announcements coming that demonstrate solid progress to achieve our ultimate goal, which is commercial sales volumes in other markets and the capacity to meet that volume. So it's, that's really the end. It's incredibly humbling to receive patient feedback about how we've not only changed their life for the better, but how we've also impacted positively on their families. So in closing, the team at LGP is so passionate and so dedicated to this cause. And we just can't wait to see how many more lives we can continue to transform, thanks to our loyal and supportive investor base that we have. So thank you, everyone. I really appreciate the time you've taken to join me today. I'll hand back to Tim and see if there's any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Fleeta. Yes, we have a couple of questions. Appreciate that it is 5 a.m. over there, I believe, in Zurich. So we understand your passion for your company. There's a question around Germany. Why the focus on the German market and the margins in Australia are, 53%, I think you said. Are the margins similar offshore?
Thank you. Germany is a very lucrative market. It's a very popular market that cannabis companies are targeting, Tim. And the reason being, look, Germany is a little bit more proactive. Not only are there more than 250,000 patients or applications or approvals that have occurred, but it's also reimbursed on their public and private health insurance system, a bit like our PBS. So it's a huge head start. When we deliver our medicines into Germany, we do it at a much higher price. So we do it at €1. So interesting with that 54% margin, we're expecting that to increase quite a bit because most of our sales in the future will predominantly come from international markets where the prices are much higher. So we're able to do that. So, and we also know that in Germany, it's very strict. It's a very complex country to deliver into. There aren't many companies across the globe that can actually do it because of the requirements to have this GMP, which I was telling you about, and it needs to be EU compliant. And there's literally only a handful of companies across the globe, including us, that can do that and deliver into Germany.
A question around your manufacturing facility. Can you outline the benefits of this strategy and particularly the impact on production costs and operating margins?
Yeah, sure. So we decided to go internally to have our own manufacturing capability, but it's really for GMP drying of flower. So the existing relationship that we have with our manufacturer, which is amazing, is really more for oils and finished medicines and R&D and our new innovative solutions that we're coming up with. But what we wanted to do internally at our own facility is have the capability to extract our oils, to decarboxylate, because that's where we can drive margins further and send that product to our manufacturing for end finishing. And for us to be able to deliver into the German market, you have to dry under GMP conditions. And, you know, like I say, you can't do that if you're growing outdoors. You can't grow it, you know, if you're doing it in greenhouses unless you have an indoor drying facility. So that's a really important part to our business plan as we move forward and we enter into the German and other European and even other international markets that require that level of quality.
And talking of quality, there's the question here, how does the quality of the product compare to kind of international products and your competitors?
Wow, really interesting question. Look, the TGO 93, it's the standard that's set by the Australian government for producing, so not only growing, but producing and manufacturing medicinal cannabis is so strict. The testing regime, it is so rigorous that the quality of coming out of the Australian product is second to none. It is so high up here that's why we are allowed, we have a mutual recognition agreement with the European Union that allows Australian product to enter into the market. Now, unfortunately, our understanding is that many imported products that come into Australia do not have to go through the same rigorous testing that Australian producers do. But fortunately, our TGA, so the Therapeutic Goods Administration, is coming down on this and they are starting to test products coming in, because often what they say on the label on the bottle is not what's actually inside. And that's the issue that we're having with many imported products. Not all of it, but some. So we're hoping that the TGA will sort that out and that everybody getting any medicine, whether it's locally grown or imported, will have the highest quality.